Hello and welcome to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. This week we'll spotlight Le Shag, a new business in uptown Kingston that's mostly hair salon but also several cool things too, like a record shop. First though is Gerald Celente, the publisher of the TrendsJournal. Hi Jerry.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. So the TrendsJournal has been forecasting worldwide since what year?
1980.
1980.
Yeah.
Now you forecast. You're not like some mind reader. You're not some sort of like carnival sideshow. Let me predict your future. You have a method to your predictions, right?
We diagnose the current events. You go to a doctor, you get a diagnosis. It's as simple as that. But what happens is when current events evolve, people look at them through their own lens, their own belief system. For example, people call themselves Republicans, Democrats, liberals, centrists, right-wing, left-wing. I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in political religions, and I don't bow to political gods. So I look at things through the way they are, not the way they want them to be. The great scholar von Schiller said, "In today already walks tomorrow." I say current events form future trends. You can see the implications of the actions, cause and effect. But people don't do that. Turn on the media. Everybody has their agendas. I have no agenda. The only agenda we have is to getting to the truth of the issue.
Now, do you think there is really an agenda, or is that people are just sort of lazy? They're not really looking hard and deep enough. They go with the easy thing and they just put it out there.
I think for the majority of the population, that's true. But I've been on virtually every show, from Oprah to Today's Show to Good Morning America to O'Reilly, go down the list, ABC, NBC, CBS. And I can tell you that each of them are confined by their ideologies, as I see it. By the way, the motto of the TrendsJournal is think for yourself. So we just put the information down, we put down the facts and give the analysis, and then you decide.
How much of what you are looking at is history, is looking back and saying, oh, that's happening again? Is there...
I'll give you a perfect example. The crash of 1929, the Great Depression, currency wars, trade wars, World War, the Panic of '08, the Great Depression. There's a depression going on. There's a depression in Greece, a depression in Ireland, a depression in Spain, a depression in Slovenia, a depression in Slovakia, a depression in Hungary, a depression in Bulgaria, Romania. You go around the world, there's a depression. Look at the United States. Anybody could do this. Go online, John Williams Shadow Stats. He's a brilliant guy, and he breaks down the information for really what it is and not the government spin. When you look at real unemployment rates, when you put in temporary workers, people that are working part-time that want full-time jobs, plus the people that have fallen off the rolls, because I call it now Slavelandia, once you're no longer collecting unemployment and you can't find a job, they no longer count you as unemployed. How's that for a nice democracy? So when you look at the real number, you're looking at 23% unemployment in America when you put in temporaries that want jobs and people that have fallen off the rolls. So we have a panic, a depression, currency wars. Don't listen to me. Listen to the words of Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan. Listen to Montega, the Finance Minister of Brazil, or Mervyn King, the head of the Bank of England, or Alex Verba, the former CEO of Bundesbank and now head of UBS. There's a currency war going on. All of the nations are devaluing their currencies so that they export more product. Happened during World War II, by the way. The Japanese devalued their yen 60% against the dollar and 40% against the pound sterling, and that allowed them to sell more of their product, because when the prices are high of the other currencies, you can't. And now they're talking about trade wars. And now you look at the world wars heating up. So history is repeating itself in the same way, because when all else fails, they take you to war.
So where do you see this going? To a worldwide war?
It's going to be a very different war. You know how they say that generals are always fighting the last war? And they're doing it again. This isn't going to be a war of F-35s that cost $1 trillion or tanks. It's going to be a war of weapons of mass destruction, of suitcase-sized nukes, of biological warfare, of dirty bombs. And you can see it developing now. although this show will be airing later than when we're talking about, the Syrian crisis just happened. Israel attacked Syria. Period, paragraph. You want to give any excuse you want because they did it? Fine, knock yourself out. The fact is, they attacked Syria, a sovereign country that didn't do anything to them. And as we used to say in the Bronx, payback's a bitch. And you're seeing now the Syrian issue evolving into a global issue. And then you talk about the news and what they're producing and what they're talking about. As we're speaking today, what are the big stories? Again, not that these are tragedies that should be taken lightly, but they're not national or geopolitical news. So turn on CNN, the Cartoon News Network, and read all about the unfortunate accident going over the bridge in California where the bridal party died in a limousine. And then the 3 girls that were rescued after being held hostage. Day in, day out. Day in, day out.
Wall-to-wall coverage, graphics, music.
You know it. You got it. How about Syrian coverage? Gone. Gone, zip, nada. Go back to our TrendsJournal last year, the autumn edition, summer edition. We wrote chapter and verse how they were going to use the chemicals and weapons in Syria with the red line, the red line. Or drawing a red line, and I'm not taking anything off the table. This is kiddie crap talk. Drawing a red line. And where did Obama get the crayon from the red line when they just had the Bush inauguration of his library? Did he get the crayon from Bush? And this is stuff that the people hear, and they take it seriously. And what they ignore, for example, with the Syrian issue, the UN came out and said that, oh yeah, chemical weapons were used, but it was those rebels that used it. Oh, you know those rebels. Oh, people forgot who the rebels are? Oh, the rebels began under Jimmy Carter. Oh, you know that lovely guy that everybody loves, the peanut farmer? Yeah, when he began to create the proxy war to fight the Russians in Afghanistan at the end of his presidency. He created the Taliban. He created the Mujahideen. And Clinton did the same thing when they were fighting the Yugoslavian war. And they did the same thing in Libya with Obama. And one war after, and Bush did it too. So what they do is they keep supporting the people that then turn against us. But now you listen to the words coming out of James Carney, the White House spokesperson, and Carney's the perfect name for him. Carnival man, that's the slang for Carney. Well, we discount what the United Nations says, and we believe that they're wrong. Oh yeah, would you use the same proof that Bush used for weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda? So now when they take you to war, for whatever reason, the people will be ignorant of the facts. They'll pull out the flags and pin up the yellow ribbons. They do it all the time.
That's a dire prediction. But in your TrendsJournal, you have a line that says, but a brighter future is possible. We're going to take a break, and I want you to tell me how that brighter future is possible, okay?
Okay.
This is Kingston Now. More with Gerald Celente when we return. Welcome back to Kingston Now. We're talking about everything with Gerald Celente, the publisher of the TrendsJournal. Now, the line I said before we went to break is that you wrote a better future is possible. That's part of, to put it in context, you wrote banks are villains, politicians are wise guys for the money mafia, but a brighter future is possible. So how is that? After everything we heard before the break, how is a brighter future possible? What makes that happen?
Go back to the Renaissance. Whether the Renaissance followed the Black Plague in Europe, 60% an estimated, depending on whose numbers you look at, were gone. People got it. Hey, we're doing something wrong. A renaissance, a rebirth, a rediscovery. At the height of the Renaissance in Italy, they used to say, alle romana e all'antica, in the manner of the Romans and the ancients, to describe the quality of their work. It was a rediscovery of art, beauty, culture, quality. It was a discovery of the human spirit, because the people that survived the Renaissance were the ones that went off into the monasteries and, into the hills and found a different way of living. They found the truth within themselves. And when people start doing that, everything will change. It takes the individual. There's a wonderful story in the back of this TrendsJournal, the Powell Prescription for a Positive Future. A young man, 27 years old, wrote in, and he's been following us for years and is a subscriber. And he started changing his life. He started changing the way he eats. He started dressing up. He started growing his own food, and anytime he goes out, he'll only buy quality. And he goes on to say how first it has affected his girlfriend, and then his friends, and then his parents, and how everybody around him now is changing. He's a registered nurse, and how he's changed in his practice. When the individual changes, everything changes. And right now we're down at the lowest common denominator. Here we are in colonial Kingston. You look at the beautiful buildings around us. You look when this was a wonderful neighborhood where people used to go shopping at mom and pop stores. So how does it change? Number one, you break the chains. I don't buy anything in chains that I don't have to. And the word chain stores is perfect because they've chained us. So now when there used to be hardware stores, now there's only Home Depot and Lowe's. There used to be stationery stores. There was O'Reilly's over here. Now there's Staples and Office Depot. There used to be pharmacists. Well, we still have Nico's over here. But now there's CVS's and Walgreens everywhere. And so what it has to happen, as I see it, is you go back a renaissance. So what happened? Why did that change? Because they changed the laws. Laws were put in place at the turn of the 19th to 20th century to stop the robber barons from stealing everything. The Sherman Antitrust Act, the Clayton Antitrust Act, the Robinson-Patman Act. Say I wanted to open up a store and sell these, and I wanted 5 dozen of them. But you, being Jimmy Buffett and the guy with a lot of dough, you want 500 dozen. Who gets the better deal? You, right?
Sure.
Not in the old days. Everybody pays the same price just because you have more money. And that allowed everybody to compete. And one after another, they started deregulating by the late 60s, early 70s. And then the banking system as well. They did away with the Glass-Steagall Act, which prevented, there was no interstate banking when I was a kid growing up. They didn't allow it. They didn't allow commercial banks to become investment banks. So what they did is they stripped all the rules so the top could grab everything. So you have a renaissance, but it begins with the individual. And why I love Kingston is because to me, this is where I see a whole cultural renaissance. Whether it's now with the opera, with the arts, with Ask, with the music at Backstage Production and the others that are making it happen as well down on the Rondout. And here we have more stone buildings, I understand, than anywhere else, the pre-revolutionary and revolutionary buildings, than anywhere else in the United States. So it's a revolution of the mind, the heart, and the spirit, not a guns or violence, just to make that really clear. So I believe we can have a renaissance because the vacuum is so big now, it can be filled with anything. Never before in polling history in the United States has the current generation felt that the prospects of the future were dimmer than the present or the past. That's terrible. So we can reverse it. It's up to the people to do it, not the politicians.
That's a wonderful message, and on that we're going to end.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Jerry. This is Kingston Now. Next, we're going to spotlight one of those individual businesses in Uptown Kingston. It's called Le Shag. It's mostly hair salon, but it's a whole lot of other things too, and we'll show you next. You're watching Kingston Now, and we're headed over to Fair and John Streets in Uptown Kingston to meet the folks at Le Shag.
I'm Jen Donovan, and this is Le Shag Boutique. I started working as a stylist with Mark Ferraro when I was about 15 years old in Uptown Kingston, and it kind of kept on from there, all through college and to now. I learned how to cut and color working with Mark, and how to be a professional chatter, except for right now. The new Le Shag is a collaboration of artists with my husband, Grasshopper Makoviak, Sean. who we decided to do a boutique along with the hair salon to get a group of artists together to showcase some of their better talents, to embody anything that has to do with beauty. The idea came from a salon we had seen in London that my husband was a huge fan of. And through the different websites that are kind of happening right now, like Etsy or anything that really showcases artwork or creativeness from fabrics or jewelry or any kind of textile. And we decided to put it together with a salon so people were able to actually work together rather than through virtual realities, I guess. Currently, the new hairstyle is like a bob shag pixie kind of shortcut for the summer. But right now, a lot of people in Kingston are wearing their hair long with bangs and shags. Shags are always a popular thing here. Typically, we range from definitely a lot of artists. We have a lot of musicians who walk through the door. And we also do people over 50 who are also musicians and artists. And it really ranges anywhere from about 20 and up, professionals alike, both from lawyers and doctors to crazy people bantering on the street. Anybody, really. I was born and raised in Kingston, and what I love about it right now is that there's so many young people coming in with new ideas and innovative ways to turn the community around, where we're all working together to come up with ideas to create new festivals and new businesses in the area, and keeping everybody afloat and connected. And it's just a great community right now. Le Shag is unique because it's definitely more artistic, I think, than the general salon that you might find in Kingston. Maybe not. It's definitely got a little more rock and roll in it, and it's a fun place to hang. Some of what we're featuring in the boutique for the next 3 months is a t-shirt collection that my husband put together, which is Sean Grasshopper Makoviak. And then we also have Queen of Hearts leather products, which are purses and some rock and roll handbags. We have a vintage clothing collector from Gypsy Rising Vintage in the Lower East Side. That is showing for the next 3 months as well. And then we also have a beatnik book collection and some records. And then we also have a collection of Brookside Bungalows handmade chandeliers and pendant lights. I'm Jen Donovan, and this is Le Shag. We are open Monday through Friday, 11 to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can find us on Facebook, leshagbbeauty.com, and at 292 Fair Street, Kingston, New York. And we take walk-ins and appointments.
That's it for this week's show. Thanks to Gerald Celente. To subscribe to the Trends Journal, go to TrendsResearch.com. Remember, all of our previous shows are available on our YouTube channel, and you can find that link on our Facebook page. For Kingston Now, I'm Jimmy Buff. We'll see you next time.